Good morning, rebels. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maschobozuka. You guys are watching RWS, which is Randoms with Shades, and I'm Shades the Rebel, and today we're here to learn, create, and sew. So it is Monday morning. I hope you guys are ready to learn. This week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at pattern making. I'm going to tell you guys everything you need to know about pattern making before we start making the patterns, and I hope you guys can follow along with me. So today, I'll tell you guys the tips or the steps you guys just need to know about pattern making just before we get into it. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hi, I'm Shades, and just like this title sequence that you're watching over here, nothing has order because it's random. Just a little note is that pattern making requires concentration, and with that being said, you need to make sure that everything's going to fit well. You don't want to be going back and fixing everything like we did last week, but that's fine. It's, the way of life. But if you make your pattern correctly from the beginning, you eliminate so many problems when it comes to making the garment. Also, another thing that I must mention is that maths is very crucial in this part of the design making process. That's because we're going to be using numbers, measurements, deductions, additions, subtractions, all of that. We're going to be using all of that when you're making patterns. And also, you need to be very analytical when it comes to making a pattern, because sometimes you might see a design or make your design and think about how you're going to make it, how the pattern is going to be before you even make the pattern. That's going to make your life a lot easier. Step number 1. Measurements. When it comes to measurements, you want to make sure that you take accurate measurements. Just a pro tip is that when you're measuring horizontal areas like your bust, your waist, make sure that the measuring tape is horizontal or parallel rather to the floor. Another tip is that when measuring yourself, leave a finger space between the measuring tape and your body, just so that you have a little bit of movement, because if it's too tight, it might be too small, and if it's too loose, it might be too big, because the slightest or the smallest measurements make a difference when it comes to pattern making, and you guys will see this during the week. The next tip is to make sure you have the correct tools to make your pattern maker. This is your rulers, your pencils, your paper. That needs to be correct. So when it comes to rulers, you want to make sure that you have a ruler that is longer than 30 centimeters, because most of our body parts are longer than 30 centimeters. So you want to get longer rulers. I have a grid that is about 60 centimeters long and a straight ruler that is 50 centimeters long. If you want to go for longer rulers, that would be even better. Another thing is paper. Paper needs to be wide enough and big enough to make a pattern paper. Last week, I used A4 papers and stuck them together to make my pattern. And what I do advise is that if you can get newspaper, I'd rather use newspaper. Don't waste. I think I wasted. Actually, I did waste last week. And also, if you can get pattern paper, that would be even better, because you don't have to stick anything. And yeah. Tip number 3 is make sure you keep basic pattern blocks around you always and always. This is going to help you make whatever design that you want to come up with. And also, if you want to use it for a different size, if you already have like a standard size that you always use, you can always grade it up or grade it down. So grading is basically sizing up or sizing down. So if you have a pattern, a basic pattern block, what you can do is just trace and use the correct measurements to grade it up or grade it down. I will be also touching into what grading is and how you can grade your pattern pieces. So don't worry. The next step is to familiarize yourself with pattern terminology, your notches, dots, waistlines, gather, manipulate, pleat, all of those terms which we're going to look into this week. Familiarize yourself with them, because if you are going to be making a pattern for someone else, they should know what's going on in the pattern just by looking at it. And also, if you were to get a pattern from someone else, you should also know what you would do with it just by looking at it. So it's very important that you get to know the terminologies and just familiarize yourself with them. And that's it. The last thing is practice, practice, practice. So you're probably wondering, how am I going to practice if you're saying I shouldn't waste paper? So am I going to practice and waste paper? No. So making garments for yourself and making sure that you make the patterns from scratch yourself is going to be a way of practicing. But also another way to practice is to use half scale or quarter scale blocks, and you can just play around with them on your small piece of paper, and you're not going to be wasting, and keep them in a file so that you can always just refer back. And like I did last week, I always write down special notes, so it will be very crucial for you to actually write down special notes on your patterns so that you know what mistakes to avoid next time you make your patterns. So yeah, that is it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It is Monday morning. See you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. My name is Masco Motokai, and you are watching RWS, where we learn, create, and sew. Bye.